All right, guys. Put the brakes on that one. I appreciate you guys tuning in. You know what? I wanted to schedule this. I wanted to do this early because this was brought up by another veteran that's living in a trailer park in a rural town. And okay, so Tom is one of these guys that we'll just call him Tom. We're just gonna call him Tom. Okay, Tom is a combat veteran and he lives in rural America. And so, what he has proposed to his neighbors who live in a trailer park with him that are also disabled and can't easily get up and go in the event of some natural disaster or something horrible. So, what they've been doing is instead of, let's just say, bugging out. Okay, bugging out is when you've got money and you've got supplies and you've got somewhere to go, and you hop in your car or you hop on the highway and you get out of your city, because naturally what you're going to do is you're going to get out of your city and you're going to go to a rural area that has a water source like a lake or a stream or a river. If you have the ability to desalinize water, then you probably go be fine on the ocean. But you probably don't have any of that. So this is what he said that would be the most ideal scenario for somebody who can't go anywhere, who can't hop in a car. Instead of bugging out, you're going to bug in. Now, a trailer is really nothing more than a giant chassis that has aluminum siding or plastic siding. And on the bottom of all these trailers that are in trailer parks, I believe by code nowadays, because they're very strict on people, is that there is a skirt underneath of every trailer. And under the skirt is where you're going to see, the chassis and the axles for the actual structure that you brought in. Now, what you're going to find is you're going to find about 3 feet of space underneath your house, underneath your mobile home, okay? Couple things about your mobile home that you may or may not know is a lot of the utilities like the water lines and sewer lines and electrical are all run underneath of your trailer. So let's say in the event that you need to bug out, but you can't go anywhere because let's say you're disabled like this guy is, instead of bugging out, you're going to bug in. So instead of waiting for the shit to hit the fan, to hit the news, and oh boy, we're getting attacked by, the Philippines or whatever, and somehow they got through our borders, somehow they got through our ability to detect that in advance, when the enemy's flying in or coming in with tanks or whatever, or submarines. Okay? Something bizarre. This is all scenario. This is all made up. None of this is real. This, however, is very real because what people are doing, and this is brilliant, rentals or not. Because if the shit hits the fan, nobody owns anything anyway. So if shit does hit the fan, all the rules are off. Cops are not going to respond to anything. 911 won't exist anymore because they'll be at home defending their own house and defending their own families. So what is one man that's stuck in a trailer, who is disabled, who usually sits around all day long doing fucking nothing, waiting for the other shoe to drop, is underneath of their trailer. They're setting up basically like bunkers. Now, bunkers are nothing new. They've been around for thousands of years. If you don't have the luxury of having millions of dollars to build your own bunker, why not use what the Lord gave us? And that is the earth down below. The earth down below, depending upon what state you're in, if it's built in an area where there is like moist or very mucky type of soil underneath your house. It may pose as a problem, but look, this is an emergency situation that you're in, okay? Some wild man is loose and he's shooting at everybody, and you're in a trailer that's made out of paper mache and beer cans. So you're going to go underneath your house for a couple good reasons. Because underneath your house, wherever this skirt is that you can put sandbags in. You're going to put sandbags all throughout the bottom against the base of your trailer. And you're going to fill that in. You're going to use clean sand. Don't use anything that has rocks in it or sticks or any twigs. You want to use clean sand. Because in the event, let's say, I don't know, some gangbangers shooting up the club. Somebody's shooting. You are safer behind sandbags with nothing in it, like rocks or sticks, than you are behind nothing, obviously. The cool thing about being under a trailer is that you can do it all and no one will ever see it. You could build this damn thing and no one will ever know. Plus, what's underneath the trailer is a lot of dirt, sand. If you're fortunate enough to live in an area that has caves and tunnels and things like that, and you have LiDAR or radar penetrating software, and you find a tunnel underneath your trailer park, then that's going to be your bunker. You're safer underground during an earthquake than you are above the ground. Just like during a tsunami or a hurricane, if you are underwater, under the waves, down below, you're not going to feel the tides above. So the same is true in this situation, an earthquake. You're safer underground than you are above ground. This is just a scenario. Let's say that you're going to fortify this with using sandbags. The second thing you're going to do is, this is the worst case scenario. Shit hits the fan. People are running around with guns trying to take your food out of your house or trying to take your water out of your house. By this time, you've already prepared an enormous cistern of water underneath your house, hopefully. Now, you guys realize that you can't just rip up the side of your house and put a big, giant plastic tank, underneath your house. So, do you guys remember water beds? You guys remember water beds from the 80s? Well, some people are not necessarily buying old water beds and using those as a water tank that you could easily unfold and fold and put wherever you want. Hook that up to a 12 volts water pump. That'll give you your water. That's also what people use in camper vans and stuff like that. 12 volt battery operated that you can recharge. Now, here's my clever thing that this guy said. He says that you can't just have your solar panels out, because if there are people out looking to steal your resources, and you have a solar panel that's a portable solar panel and you think you're going to slide it out during the daytime and gather sun. No, the easiest thing to do is use what's obvious. Now, let's just say this is your house and you're fortifying it as we're talking. This is what you're going to do. You have sandbags underneath your house, under the skirt. You're going to have ventilation, little boxes like this along the way. And they're not going to be very big, but they're going to be big enough so you'll be able to see out. You'll be able to put things outside if you need to, take things in if you need to. And that is something that you're going to have to fortify as well. But the problem is that this is all just tin or aluminum siding or plastic. So there's really no protection, from anything. If you have this big gaping hole here, you're not going to have a cement foundation on a trailer. It's one of those things. You just don't. You might have a foundation underneath, and that would be nice. That would be great. But unfortunately, you got all this space down here that needs to be your invisibility cloak, if you will. So you're going to put trees. Get all the bushes and trees that you can that offer you a couple of things. Protection against being seen in case you have lights on. The second thing about lights is you always want to have, instead of regular LED flashlights, you want to have red lenses that go over top of your LED lights. Because any light that's penetrating outside of the base of your trailer underneath your house is going to tell the fucking enemies that you're underneath there, and they're going to get all your water, they're going to get all your food, you know, any weaponry you might have, or any form of communication that you might have, radio, stuff like that. They're going to steal it all. This is not something new. Every single time there's been a conflict or a loss of resources like water or electricity, people lose their friggin' minds. This happened in Russia. The Ukrainians hacked a section of Russia, and they were without power and water for, I think, 2 weeks. And by the 2-week point, they were actually fighting each other in the street with rockets for water. So water is the biggest resource, so think about this in advance. What I say is use the bottom of your trailer and make a miniature bug out situation that you can fortify using sandbags and planters. If you have money and you have the ability to put, you know, concrete blocks are not gonna do shit. I could karate chop the fucking things. But what you're gonna do is use them to fortify what you're fortifying underneath to cause the illusion. Okay, and you're gonna cause the illusion of depth. You're going to cause the illusion that there's anything underneath that trailer that anybody would want to, you know, go underneath the trailer for. So you're going to hide everything that you have, resource-wise, underneath the base of your trailer, under the skirt, behind the skirt. You're going to need a couple of things. You're going to want to put in... Now remember, guys, this is the end of the world scenario, and there are no rules anymore. So if any of you guys think, oh, that's going to be, the homeowner's going to be pissed off, fuck the homeowner. If you're in the end of the world scenario, the homeowner doesn't give a shit. He is hauled ass. He is where you need to be, but you can't because you're disabled. So you're in this scenario. You're going to build a trap door where you can easily get to the trap door from where you sit in the home. Let's say that we're going from the scenario and for the aspect that this is a disabled person, because the question was, how would a disabled person bug out? When you can't bug out, you have to bug in. Bugging in is when you fortify your own house. Now listen, guys, no wars have ever been won on the defense. So regardless of what the fuck happens, you're just going to defend your home because you're defending your resources, so you stay alive long enough so the assholes that are out shooting each other, eventually that'll stop because they run out of bullets. It's the truth. It always happens. Runs out of bullets. People run out of steam, or they get whacked themselves. And in the end of the world scenario, Eastern Europe was all of our history guys fucked up. So this is what you got to do in advance to prepare for such a stupid ass situation. Is you're going to have your water in place. Now, if you're going to use the underside of your trailer as a storage place for your food, I would recommend that you put everything up on pallets. Get some wood pallets or something that's going to elevate whatever it is, your dry goods that are going to go under there. Second, you're going to want to rat proof it. Anything that's going to draw rats is going to cause a problem. But if you sealed off the base of your trailer good enough, rats are not going to get in there, because we're going to go into this. Because one of the other dangers is fire. If somebody is nefarious enough to try and, you know, cause a blaze to whack a bunch of houses, you're safer down below your trailer than you are above in your trailer, because smoke travels upward, heat travels upward. You're safer underneath because there's no heat down close to the ground. So let's just take a foot. Your space that's underneath your trailer is 3 feet. Normally, if there's a blaze or fire and everything is on fire, absolutely everything is on fire, like shit hits the fan, you know, nuclear, whatever, meltdown, you've got 3 feet of space in which to breathe. Your air system, you have to have a dual air system. One that's going to filter the air that's coming in, and you have to filter the air, well, not filter the air, but you have to have a means or ways of allowing filtration of air, but also ventilation of air going out. Carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide are going to build up under the house, even though there's no fire there. But you're safer under the house than you are above, because one is a heat barrier with sandbags. Sand doesn't burn unless it's like 3,000 degrees. And if it is 3,000 degrees, your ass is cooked anyway. You're sitting in an oven. You're going to be sitting in a sauna for as long as the fire lasts. Second thing you want to do is a piece of equipment that every house should have is that's a fire extinguisher. But you want to have two types of fire extinguishers in a shit hits the fan situation. One operates solely on water. Water. Okay, you want to have water ones because a lot of the structures of these trailers are just made out of plastic and wood, frame wood. The only thing that burns in these things is actually just furniture that's made out of resin and polyester. So all those things can be put out with water. It can be hosed down very quickly, eliminated. Yeah, it's going to smoke like fuck, but it's not going to burn your house down. So the thing about it is that if someone is so nefarious that they're going to burn down a whole neighborhood, you're safer here underneath of a trailer where it's fortified with sandbags all about. You have ventilation coming in, you have ventilation going out, and then you have EPP. What is EPP, guys? Guys, grab paint masks if you can't afford shit. Grab paint masks. You want to get, you know what we use in forestry? A friggin' rag. Okay, this looks like a little Spider-Man hood. Dude, this is what the kids wear. The kids in Mexico wear to put out brush fires in the neighborhood with shovels. So you are safe with a little piece of cotton. You want to use gabardine cotton. Gabardine is what they use for the EPP, the suits, the shirts, the pants for forest fires. It's called gabardine. You can actually make one out of your, one little thing for your face. Maybe make yourself an outfit. At any event you get into a fire, you have something to throw on. It needs to be big and baggy. And you remember your boots are going to melt. So just remember you need boots. You need to be able to change boots. You need to have two pairs of also wool socks. If you have a wool coat, like if you have something like a winter wool coat, that's awesome to protect you from fire. I would suggest if you're going to make your own homemade EPP and that's your bunker gear, I would get a wool coat, the old school scratchy shit kind that makes you itch. Get one of those from like Goodwill, the big thick as you fucking can. Get some cotton, gabardine cotton, which is the fireproof stuff. Then make an inner and an outer layer using some kind of inside insulation. It doesn't have polyester in it because polyester melts and it'll burn you to death. So you're always going to have something that is fireproof, handy, ready to go that you're going to close up. You have to be able to close it completely up so nothing gets in. Close it up. You're always going to want to have gloves, leather gloves. You want to have a second pair of gloves that would be something like gardener's gloves. Because when you're in a shit hits the fan situation, you're going to be dealing with metal, broken windows, broken doors and locks, and you want to protect yourself at all times. Always have, and also if you run into people and they're bleeding, because a lot of people don't realize is that in a disaster situation when people are cut, a lot of first responders, you'll see them put gloves on underneath their work gloves. Underneath the rescue gloves, you'll see they have latex gloves on. That's to prevent them from getting something from the victims. So also another thing that you're gonna have to have and keep it stocked is don't screw around with your medical situation. You're gonna need to know how to use a tourniquet. People always take tourniquets for granted, say, yeah, but the minute you get shot, you need to put a tourniquet on and leave it. That's the rules now. They used to have this, you put it on for 8 minutes and you loosen it up. Fuck that. You're going to put it on and leave it. I don't care if you lose your fucking arm. Better than losing your life. Because there are no ambulances. There are no paramedics running around fucking driving around saving people at this position. Which is why you need to learn how to use tourniquets and have an excessive amount of first aid kits. Notice I said amounts. Because per person, you're only going to have so many, you're going to have so much ability to, treat people. Let's just say that if it's your entire family, there's 4 people, you can have at least 2 med kits. Not the big gigantic ones, the little small ones that are basically a backpack. They're about $20. They're loaded to the gills with all the stuff you need to disinfect. Maybe even for water situations too. So this is all planning in advance. The second thing I want to tell you is that before all utilities are shut off, you need to anticipate the water is going to be fucked. The water is going to be polluted or poisoned or some kind of biological, not nuclear, but biological agent or chemical agent. So you need to know in advance what to do with water like that. First of all, it's not drinkable. You will die if you drink it, period. But let's say none of that's happened yet. You're going to be able to tap into your water pipes prior to a shit hit the fan situation. So I'm just going to give you guys a little demo here. And this is just a real simple tube, okay, that I have with a 90-degree angle. It has a 1/2 inch male screw-in fitting that I could use easily, you know, for having some water. I could fill up my water bladder, which you refer to as the water bed type of thing, where you go and you buy a water bladder that to me looks like an old 1980s style water bed. Don't get any ideas, guys, because the water beds, even though they're really like thick and you could jump and fucking do all kinds of shit on them, they're really subject to puncturing. So if you do get a water bed as your source of water for your under trailer needs, you're gonna want to reinforce it with some kind of a like a barrier. Maybe use wood or something like that. But the thing that has made it the easiest is one of those portable like dumpster bags that they use. That it's a fairly new technology, guys. I've been to the United States in a long, long time, but when I did visit, I saw that on some construction sites, they had these giant dumpster bags, and these dumpster bags could lift like 20,000 pounds or more of steel and not puncture it anywhere. So that would be a good thing to put your water bed or whatever water bladder you're inside of. And when it's inside and in position of where you want it to be, you're going to shore up the sides of this where your water bladder is. You know why? Because people run around with 22 rifles and 22 pistols in scenarios like this, and they just cause havoc. They shoot people's windows, they shoot people's tires, they do all kinds of bad shit. And what you're trying to do is survive by protecting your resources. Your resources are the most important thing in a shit hits the fan situation, you know, because if you don't survive, your family doesn't survive. So these very basic things people do not have a clue how unprepared they really are. Because I've been unprepared, and I was in a cabin in the middle of the woods for 8 months, and I did not have any water. I didn't have a well. I didn't have electricity, obviously, didn't have Wi-Fi or anything like that. But for 8 months, I did a survival thing, and the last 45 days were fucking horrible. So if any of you guys think, oh, what a cool idea would be, you know, to like go off grid and live off grid, go fuck yourself if you're not prepared. And I have training in survival and training in disaster preparedness. Man, I'm prime beef all the way, guys. If you guys don't know what prime beef is, look it up. If you don't know, it's just disaster preparedness for the military. I'm all the way. So why not use the skills that we learned in the military to translate this so civilians can protect themselves? Here's your water bladder, aka the water bed. Don't sleep on it, by the way, because you don't want to puncture it. You're going to fortify it using any kind of plywood, or like we said, a dumpster bag that they, you know, I think you used to be able to rent them at Home Depot or something like that. So you're going to use your dumpster bag to shore up your water bladder. And then you're going to sandbag that too. You're going to sandbag the shit out of anything that you don't want shot. And that includes your bed. Because if let's say it's facing the road, you're going to pick the opposite wall. You're obviously not going to sleep next to the fucking road. Okay? But this situation, the scenario is this guy is disabled. I suggest until this shit has not hit the fan yet, your trap door is going to be where you sit your ass down the most. So if you are a guy that watches a lot of TV, or maybe you're bedridden or something like that, your trap door needs to be right next to where it is that you spend most of your time. Now, I'm telling you guys this as somebody that has asked me, says they are disabled, cannot bug out. They're bugging in. So they're fortifying their house. How do they do that? They're using the 3 feet that's underneath their house to put in sandbags, to put in a water system, some kind of a system that allows you to have water. Now let's talk about the other stuff. Let's just say you're stuck. You're literally going to be stuck under your house for like 3 months. 3 months is the magic number because they say that within 3 months, and a shit hits the fan situation, 80% of the population has already died. So take this just as a, for more than educational, more than entertainment purposes, because this could possibly happen. And if you're a person who is mobile and fortunate enough to have money to go to your bug out camp somewhere out in the middle of fucking nowhere where you have a river and a stream and, you've already got 800, acres of land at your disposal to go hide somewhere. But this is not the scenario. We said, the person asked, what about a disabled person? A disabled person could be anything on the spectrum of disability, period. I don't care if it's a bad back, you have no legs, you can't see out of one eye, whatever. This space that's down below is going to save your ass, but you need to fortify it accordingly. Let's start from the bottom. We're going to work our way up. I'm going to start at the bottom and just say the skirt that goes around. You fortify it by using sandbags. You fortify it by allowing the bushes around your house to grow like fuck. And if anybody has a problem, you go over there and waste their time. Because end of the world doesn't fucking matter. You're going to have a year's worth of growth in front of your house. It's going to go from, remember, you got 3 feet below. So you want to have at least 5 feet of visible foliage. That's going to allow some form of camouflage underneath your house. Because you're going to have lights on. It's not always going to be red. Daytime, it's okay to have white LED lights. Nighttime, never have a white light on. You're not going to want to be able to see outside unless you want to see outside. So what I have done instead is I took some beat up old security cameras because they're black and white and they see in the dark, is I put those inside these bushes, and I also have a trail cam that I hid on the corner that's actually within reaching distance of one of the ventilation doors that I told you that you needed to fortify into your house. It's all within reach. Everything is within reach. Where you're going to sit is next to your trap door. Anything that you need from the outside, your hand needs to be camouflaged. You need to have a space where drones can't see you, where no drones can see in. You need the ability to cause a bit of a ruckus outside. So if you have access, let's say, to your sprinkler system, if you have a well sprinkler system, which a lot of people do for your beautiful grass and all that stuff, those can be used effectively to keep people the fuck away from you and out of your yard. And there's a few ways to do that don't require electricity. Most of it does, but I'm talking about things that can be battery operated, run off of a number of solar panels. Using a portable solar panel where it has visible light, which I also said, when you do your positioning, you're going to figure out where the visible light is available so you can put your solar panel in a position where it's not going to be visible from the street. Because if people are looting and breaking shit and, tearing your fucking house apart while you're down below, all right, they're going to steal everything that's within sight. They're going to steal anything of value in your house. And they might set that shit on fire. So what I'm saying to you guys is that fortification of your house from the bottom up is going to be important, because they can break windows, all right, but they're not going to as easily break plexiglass. So what I tell people to do is do 2 things. You're going to get, instead of having the type of glass on your front door or your patio door that breaks upon impact into these small particles, which you've probably seen, like on a windshield when it shatters, it breaks into safety glass. Safety glass breaks so that nobody gets cut. But what they don't tell you is that if you have plate glass is giant pieces of glass that'll, cut your fucking head off. Back in the old days, that's what everything was made of. This is called plate glass. Now, to fortify your windows in your house, so it's actually impossible, if not impossible, unless somebody shoots your windows for them to be broken, is to use a very expensive 3M film that they call rhino film or whatever, and people put it on their, their cars and stuff like that. It's a very thin plastic layer of, I believe it's Teflon or something like that, but use it on plate glass and you can't break it. But if you have regular glass, safety glass, and somebody hits it with a hammer, all they have to do is hit that corner and that whole window will shatter and they can eventually get in. But if it's plate glass, it's fucking impossible. I want you to try it. You don't have to take my word for it. I want you to go and I want you to get a big piece of plate glass, put that rhino shit on, which, by the way, is the same material as this rubber tubing, which I think is some kind of polyethylene or something like that. But you hit it and it bounces with like rubber. And it's done on the inside. So what's happening is something I can't explain. But it is working because every time I've tried to smash through, can't do it. And I can hit hard. You know the big hammers, I hit those things at the fair. So I can swing an axe too. But brother, all you need is plate glass on your points of entry so no one can get in and get to your locks. All your windows, every single thing in your house that has moving hinges needs to be fortified. So I did have a demonstration. Yes, I do. Hey, you guys are lucky. You're fucking lucky today. Now, normally I have my props and things like that to show you, but I want you to take a minute and look at your door. Okay, just take a second. All of you have a door in your house, I hope, unless we're in the Dominican. Is get your door fortified with some 3-inch screws. So one by one, you're going to go to your door and take out every screw, which are only about an inch long, that are holding your doors on. You know what I'm saying? A human being inside a swinging door, a normal man can kick inside a fucking door in under a second. So in order to prevent that from happening, you're going to have to do this. Go door to fucking door in your house. Every door. Because you never know where you're going to need to go run and hide. And this is why creating false walls, having electromagnetic locks. The easiest shit in the world is an electromagnetic lock. I can make one out of this screw right here that I'm talking about putting into your hinges. In your hinges, you have teeny tiny screws that look like they belong to a pissant's fucking motorcycle. They're literally baby doll house screws that anybody with testicles could kick in. So you're going to change those one by one so you don't get off track. You're going to take one screw out, put the new screw in. Zzz. All right, hammer down. So that way you don't screw up the geometry of your door and it's all crooked. Second one, take it out, zzz, put the new one in, and so on and so forth. Now, if I had a friend or two that were carpenters, they could probably explain this a little better than me. They could probably tell you about, physics and stuff like that. But I'm telling you from personal experience, being in the fire service, having to break down doors, not doors, but entry. Forced entry is what it is. But people have this on their entry doors. And they have the film, which I told you is made out of the same material as this rubber tubing. Not rubber tubing, but polyethylene tubing. It's impossible to break the windows, and it'll be very hard to kick off the hinges. The hinges go into nothing more than a couple of studs. Those studs could be made out of 1 or 2 2x4s, which is almost, impossible to kick through. But if you've got 3-inch screws that are, ready to rock, better have some SWAT team tools to be able to get in. The other thing is that fortifying your house also means illuminating your house. Having motion sensors, having photocells that turn on at night for certain places and turn off for certain places. Putting on lights on a timer. These are all effective means because thieves prefer darkness. Thieves prefer easy in and out. I know, it just happened to me. I had the garage door open, and it just so happens that I have a photocell and a nice solar panel and an outdoor light to install. And 30 seconds being away from here, it has vanished. And it sucks because it costs like $60. And it was going to be my main lamp for the entryway of where I just moved to. So get yourself some 3-inch screws and fortify your doors. Do me a favor and hit that like button if you don't mind. I think somebody hit the like button and then unliked it. That was nice of them. But like I said, 3-inch screws, the flat kind. They're gonna go in. Don't get the kind that have a bolt head. Just get Phillips head, which is the cross point, straight in and out you go. Change it out. Your locks can be picked. In fact, there's an old saying that says that locks were designed to keep honest people honest. And so if you are an honest person, obviously you're not going to go break in anybody's house. So that means that everybody else, locks are useless. And locks seem to be useless if you watch a lot of lock picking, channels, locksmithing channels and things like that. I'm always trying to stay ahead of the game. I'm trying to figure things out for myself. If it works for me, I'm going to tell you about it. Now, a word from our sponsor. Our word from this company right here, which is now owned by, guess who? Who owns Bragg's? Who owns Bragg's now? Who owns Bragg's apple cider vinegar? Guess who owns Bragg's apple cider vinegar? Which, by the way, this is an anti-aging medicine. If you have access to old stock of apple cider vinegar, which never goes bad, the older the better, because now Bill Gates owns Bragg's. This was the number one. If you're into anti-aging, and guys know I'm 51 years old now, so I got to stay young. And can't get any younger girlfriends anymore, so I have to stick with the old one I have. I'm going to stay young myself. See what I'm saying? Not by offense to her, because, brother, she works hard in the gym. But this right here, you guys, is probably a lifesaver for some of you that are a mess, physically a mess. And you'd be surprised that if you just took a tablespoon of this every morning, maybe take a tablespoon at night, but I tell people to do different stuff at night. Because if you didn't know this already, the stomach and the bacteria in the stomach affects the brain. If you eat garbage food all day, your bacteria is going to be all basically bad. If you drink alcohol, that's going to be bad for you too. It's going to affect the brain. Eventually, it's going to wear you down and kill you, or make you a lunatic, or kill you. So use instead any kind of natural, organic, it says vinagre de manzana, apple cider vinegar. Now, what you're looking for is the organic kind that has this junk on the bottom. It looks like garbage, but that's called mother. That's the organic ingredient that you're looking for. So don't go buying the Publix brand. It's clear and it's GMO. Get the organic kind that has all this crap on the bottom. And you just take it a little shake, give it a little shake. And then you're going to I used to do this because I got used to the taste. You would take a cap, and I'm going to burn myself because I haven't been doing it this way lately. I'm doing it with a glass of water. Do this with a glass of water. Take a little sip like this. So you know I ain't fronting. What is with you guys lately? It's like, I don't believe that till you have proof. Proof? Who the fuck you think you're talking to? There's a guy, and I invited him to my bodybuilding class. It's rough still. He is a rural guy, lives out here in the country, but apparently he has a problem with people who don't look like him. You know what I'm saying? I think he might be in a club, and I'm not in it. Do you know what I mean? It's not a club, it's a clique. the clique that everybody needs to belong to. And I'm just talking to trailer park people. If you used to live in a trailer park and now you don't, you understand. You understand what I'm talking about. I lived in a trailer. I lived in a trailer park. Mr. Smith was a chief master sergeant in Air Force, and he rented me his single wide trailer with my young wife for $400 a month. He was a big advocate on 1990s Rush Limbaugh. I didn't know who Rush Limbaugh was. I didn't care. He was a fat guy. I was 18 years old. So I didn't care about any of this stuff. Then I saw a VHS tape. I've talked about this in my other videos. It was like the faces of death, the conspiracy theories that have come true since you and I have become adults. Every single thing on this videotape that I saw in the 1990s, I'm like, oh, that'll never happen. Who in the hell? Every single crazy theory and all that stuff, they're no longer conspiracies. They're no longer theories anymore. They're real life. I watched on this video. Then I came to find out, I'm just telling you guys stuff that's happened to me. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to take anything I'm saying seriously, but I am telling you from the deepest part of my heart. I have nothing to prove to anybody. I don't have to lie to anybody about stuff I've done or places I've been or some of the strange occurrences that have happened to me since I've been overseas, and that's been 20-something years now. So I'm giving you my tips on working it from top to bottom, from bottom to top. Are you ready for this? There is no point in steel plating the inside of your trailer. There's no point in putting steel plates inside of the underside of your trailer. There's no point in doing it. I'm going to teach you a different way to do it instead. Ready? Everybody take notes, because I'm going to teach you how to fortify your trailer from the outside working in. I said I wanted to work from the bottom working up. I already went through the bottom basics of sandbagging. I already went through the bottom basics of fortifying your windows. I already went through the basics of the security of your lights, daytime white lights, red lights, nighttime. I already went through the security of water. Water is your greatest resources. You need to have at least 5 gallons of water per person per day. Do you understand how much water that is? So in excess of maybe 750 liters for you yourself, just you. That doesn't include wife and kids and all that stuff. You'll die if you have to stay over 3 months. Calculate it. How much water do you use a day? Calculate that by 30 days. We're talking about 3 months bug in. You got to understand in advance that access, like I said, if you have an access point to water at any point prior to any attack or during an attack that does not include chemical, nuclear, or biological attacks, water should be relatively safe to use, because you're going to run through a secondary charcoal filter and a ROPU unit. ROPU stands for reverse osmosis water purification unit, which you're going to install. I don't give a shit. Charcoal filters suck the toxins out of water. So you can go out to the sewer, get a 5-gallon bucket of shit water, put it through a filter with activated carbon, pull it out the other side, filter it again, and add your effluents, which would be something like, we used to use chlorine in the old days. Maybe you get some of the drops, put in the water purification drops. Those are good. The little blue drops, those are good. You're going to run through your ROPU unit, which is your reverse osmosis unit. A lot of times it's going to have manual. A lot of times it's going to have battery operated pumps. Doesn't really matter, but you need to have a primary and a secondary form of forcing water from A to B in the event of a nuclear, not nuclear, because if you did have a nuclear, just kiss your ass goodbye, because by the time that you even know what to do, you're not going to know what to do. You do not have a charcoal suit. You don't have mop suits. You don't have mop gear. Unless you're really fortunate, you have the access to mop gear and then canisters. See, this is another fucked up part, is that, yes, If say it was a nuclear attack, you survive. You live in a bunker. You survive the nuclear attack. But let's say you stay in your shelter for 3 months, fallout shelter. You have what's called mop gear. Okay, mop gear is for, oh yes, you know mop gear. Yes, you're going to run out of canisters eventually. You're not going to have any air filters. And that sucks, because when you run out of air, it sucks to be you. But like I said, you have this 3 feet of space that's down here below. You're going to fireproof it, you're going to weatherproof it, and you're going to bulletproof it. So there's 3 spaces right there. The bulletproofing was the easy part. The second portion of this thing I'm talking about is when you build your planters outside of your house. You're going to build boxes. I'm going to do a little bit of a 3D sketch here just so we have a visual on a 3D planter that would be on the front side around your house. Okay? The front side of the planter looks as innocuous as possible, which means that it looks like it's not bulletproof, so that you will have people shoot into things that are bulletproof in order to give away their position. That's what you want to know. You want to know their position so that in the event you have an opportunity to defend yourself, blah, 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 blah. You're going to create weak points, choke points that the enemy will automatically look to maneuver to and exploit those weaknesses in the base of your home. But those are just traps. So what I'm saying is that trick people into shooting in a certain direction. You know where the shots are coming from. So if you can anticipate where the shots are coming from, then you're no longer on defensive mode, you're now on offensive mode. And we said what from the very beginning? No wars are won on the what? Raise your hand if you know the answer to this. The defense, that's right. No wars are ever won on the defense. None, ever. This is your planter. Okay, we're going to engineer a bulletproof planter, if not a bullet stopper. Something that's going to deflect the bullets from entering into where you are and fool the human eye at the same time. Now, if any of you guys know anything about golf, I don't. I don't know anything about golf. But I got a friend, his name is Uncle Jackie. And Uncle Jackie is a putter. He's a professional putter. I think he's a putt-putt champion of New York City. And I'm proud of the guy, okay? Uncle Jackie, you got to look him up. He's got his own series too. But we talked about this. We talked about the angles of trajectory. We don't talk about physics. We're just a couple of dumbasses. We're not mathematicians. What we're doing is we're experimenting with things in order to create a result or a reaction. Now, you see that this planter here, I know it's ridiculous. You're going to have a planter in front of your house that has at a 45-degree angle. That's stupid. However, let's say your bed is here on this side of the, by the way, the whole side, bottom side, left side, everything is hardened. Everything that is possible, some asshole goes in your house and starts shooting at the floor, you're going to have it fortified. I'm going to teach you how. Okay, we're going to start from the outside and work our way in. This is the angle of a normal house. You would have the base of your home like this. You would have your planters exactly parallel to your home. That's what the normal would be. But what you don't see is that these planters are all off by 15%. Now, the 15% is important because, A, you could cause a ricochet. The ricochet of anything that's coming in this way, even at the minuscule amount of, and when we're talking about millimeters, you've got a planter that's basically got 5 gauge, 8 gauge metal. 8 gauge, is that? No, whatever. Plate steel inside of your planter. You're going to use the physics of sand and you're going to use the physics of angle in order to create an offset. The offset is, let's say you're plate steel. You would think, oh, I'm going to put it in the front. No, you're not going to put it in the front. You're going to create a space from the front of your planter Okay, and you're going to create an illusion. You're going to create, see, I put it here like this. It's in front of the house. But you don't see, that's not exactly right. They're off just a little bit. Any event, let's just say bow and arrow. You shoot directly at the wall, it's going to bounce off, and it's going to bounce in a certain direction. Bullets are the same way. The physics coming in, the amount of force coming in is going to hit this plate. And it's going to create a collapse. Collapse is awesome in this case because behind your plate is clean sand. All of this. You can use sandbags, that's fine. Do not have any rocks or anything in there. But you're going to camouflage this because, see this right here, the planter right here, the front side in front of your plates is going to have actual plants. They're going to come up in front and create a bit of cover for you. Camouflage, if you will. On the front side of your planters, I recommend hiring a girl or maybe some neighborhood children to paint the most innocent, flower pictures possible on your planters as to give the illusion of weakness. To give the illusion of, oh, I can attack these motherfuckers. But you're going to have flowers or whatever and on your planters as to say that this is a family home, this is a decoration. Nothing to see here except that inside there is some big aircraft metal plate that's on the inside of your planters with clean sand that will stop close to maybe a 50 caliber. Now that's not to say that it will or will not, but it's going to do something that's quite different than most bulletproofing is going to do. Because it has to pass through plate steel. It has to pass through one layer of clean sand. Right away, you're going to drop from a 50 caliber weapon to something that would be the equivalent of a 7 millimeter. 7 millimeter is still going to knock a dick in the dirt, but it's still also, it's going to knock this back. Planters, all they are is made out of sand. You want them to be able to move. You want them to be able to absorb an impact, give just a little bit of give, as opposed to completely fucking exploding upon impact, therefore losing one of your points of hardness. Because then you would lose this whole section here, and then you would lose that, and inside, which by the way, inside is your sandbags. So you've got a plate of steel, you have one layer of sand with plants and so on. That's your first barrier. Second barrier is your steel plate. Third is your gap. And what that's going to do, that steel plate that's off at an angle at 15%, which is not visible to the fucking human eye, because inside the planter, the angle pushes the bullets away from where you are. The bullets are going to ricochet, which is what they should be doing, because the angle is such that at point blank range, just like this, it is going to do one thing. It's going to push back your barrier. Push it back so you have this gap in here. You have this gap, this space, this air gap, this in between here, which is where your bullet stopper plate is here. It's going to cause a ricochet. Most likely it's going to cause an absorption. Because no matter what happens if you hit something with a car? You know what I'm saying? If you hit something with a car, either the car goes through the object or the car crushes. In this case, you want to do something that is the third option, that is cause a ricochet. Because then you still have a barrier of some kind. The barrier between you and bullets or fire, something that is going to stop fire. Because also remember that your irrigation system in your home, out in your yard, can also be used as a second for any type of wildfire prevention. If you don't want your house burned down, if you know that there's a fire in progress, you're going to water the shit out of your plants. Like I said, you're going to have to allow for a year's worth of growth of any plant that will block the V. What I used is bird seed. Go and grab a bag of wild bird seed, throw it in these things, and just leave it. Don't fuck with it. You might want to water it. Doesn't matter. It's going to grow. It's going to create. You're going to be growing collard greens, which are big leafy plants. and all kinds of stuff that birds eat, and this stuff will get as high as you let it go. It's a cover crop, so you're going to want to use it as a cover crop while you're growing small trees. Go to the Home Depot and get something that has some palms to it. Maybe something that's got some broad leaves to it. Because at least with broad leaf, you could be back here. So I'm saying you got a space. Let's just say you had an opening here, which, by the way, you got to remember something, that anytime that there's going to be kind of this level of bullshit happening where civilians are going to be against whomever, they're going to use drones. You're going to always cause some form of camouflage at all times to be movable. So those are your plants. The plants are going to be innocuous to drones. They're not going to fucking look at plants. They don't give a shit about plants. They don't think about plants, but the planters are your bulletproofing. What is going on here? The planters are your bulletproofing because that's your plate. Now, there's a couple plate designs that I would probably think about doing. Because if you think about it, we're going cheap, we're going on a budget. Even something as simple as a floor pan in a car that you might have can be used as plating against bullets, bombs, things that go kablooey, tornadoes. Because if you can get a piece of steel, forged, black, whatever, anything that's going to absorb a bullet, it's going to be absorbed from the sand first. Then it's going to hit this big ass fucking piece of plate steel. The plate steel is used to deflect or to absorb the shock of the bullet. Bullet is going to be absorbed into the sand. The plate, the energy from the plate is going to be pushed into your sand, which is going to compress the sand, eventually stopping the bullet. If you want to do some math on this, and you could say this, when you see the distance of a car, let's say that for every mile per hour, it's say 1 foot. And let's say that the bullet travels at 1,000 feet per minute. And the distance of the bullet being fired is at 30 meters, or let's say 10 meters or 100 meters, or let's say 50 meters. 50 meters is, pretty much long gun, firing range distance, 50 meters. It's even 50 yards, right? 50 meters. Let's say 50 meters. When firing a bullet, let's just say a .22 rifle, which is nothing more than a pissant's fucking rifle anyway, lets the magnum in and it blows up. It's going to hit these plates and bounce off. It's also going to bounce and ricochet, go somewhere else other than where you are, which is hiding underneath a fucking trailer for 3 months in your in-ground DIY bunker underneath your trailer. So to all of my trailer trash friends, I don't care. I salute you. I've been there and I've done that. And I'm just showing you guys the poor man's way to fortify your house. Now let's talk about cameras. Cameras, as far as cameras, like video camera setups, because this is an off-grid situation, rural America or whatever, solar panels, what have you, if you're a solar panel, great. But let's say that you're not prepared, you have only the solar panel that your brother gave you that folds up like a book, which is fine because you don't need a lot of stuff right now. You're not going to be using blenders making smoothies, making a whole lot of fucking noise. What you are going to be doing is writing a lot, journaling, and reading books. And I hope that under here, where you have your water tank, you have your ventilation system that pushes air out and filters air going in event of a biological attack. Okay? Air goes in, it's chambered, filtered, air goes out, so you don't die of carbon monoxide poisoning or maybe too much carbon dioxide built up. Because on the inside of this, like I said, you want to seal the inside of the bottom of your trailer. Seal the inside of the bottom of the trailer for fireproofing and for smoke proofing. In the event of a fire, what's going to happen is that, let's just say this siding is made out of plastic. All this beautiful siding that on the skirt of the bottom of this trailer is made out of plastic. It's going to melt. It's going to disappear. Only thing that's going to be left of this trailer is whatever bones it's made of, which may be made of aluminum. So I'm going to go with, if you're fortunate enough to have, a rich guy trailer, which would have a skirt made out of aluminum, your chances are going to be better for defense against wildfire. Obviously, plastic will melt like shit. Aluminum will melt also, but at least give you something to fortify up against. It'll give you a format to format up against. These planters will also work as a defense against wildfire, because I always tell people in these planters, in your planter system, is to have some form of sprinkler. Something that is going to, it doesn't matter if it's a dropper system where it's just going to be little bits of water going little by little, or if it's going to be full-on spray nozzles. I tell people is that this right here, it's a mud box. It's a mud box, basically. The plants, depending on the type of plants, green plants don't burn very easily. Now, do they? Even if you hold a torch to a green plant, it's not going to burn. It's the stuff that's inside the plant that burns, that makes the stuff, and that's sap. Sap is like gasoline or kerosene, because that's what you make it from. Anyway, so what we talked about is the trajectory of a bullet can be, you can change the trajectory of a bullet being away from where you are. Let's say this is your little makeshift bed that's underneath your trailer. This is your little bug out bed, bug in bed or whatever. You're going to have to find a way to protect yourself at all times during the nighttime. So you need to build a second barrier. Actually, you want to do something that is going to be something more along the lines of a coffin, so to speak, because you're fucked either way. This world's not going to end easily, and if you end up in this situation, life's going to suck so bad, it's not going to matter. You're not going to fucking care. Hopefully you're not one of those people. So I'm going to show you real quick what I would do if I was in a situation where I had to sleep under my house and there were the possibility of shit hitting the fan and people shooting at my house. Like I said, most people, if they have some kind of weapon, it's probably some 22 rifle. If it's a 9mm, you're okay. If it's a 50 caliber, you're still going to be okay if you have the correct materials to fortify against the 50 caliber, because some 50 calibers will explode when they hit the targets. So what we want to do is prevent that target from being you and deflecting whatever possibility, because people are going to have one of two things. They're going to have pistols, they're going to have hunting rifles. A lot of people are going to have hunting rifles. A lot of people have never used hunting rifles before. People are not going to think clearly in this time, because they're only going to think about resources. The only reason why you're even down here is because you're protecting your resources from people with no abilities to protect themselves and no preparation. So this is definitely a prepper video if there's anything. So there is your bottom to medium, bottom to top. You need to protect against fire, and you need to protect against other people, and you need to protect against wild animals. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, geez, what wild animals? Snakes. That's why I said seal up your place. Rats. If you don't want rats, there's a good tip from the old professor here, is your plant boxers should grow mint. Mint makes rats throw up. Rats hate mint. So if you are a mint person and you don't care about your garden, grow fucking tons of mint. You'll never have a rat within miles of your house. Plants are going to cover your butts. Plants And the thing that I didn't mention is that when you need a solar panel, and you're going to plan in advance, you're going to do landscape solar panels. Landscape solar panels can be utilized to tap for light, because these don't require wires or anything. They're just very simple, 3-watt bulb, whatever. And they have a battery that's in there, and the light lasts for approximately 4 to 6 hours. So the least that you can do for minimal light is going to be landscape lighting, which you can borrow from your area, which, by the way, could be right in between your planters. If your planters are going to be here, you're going to have boxes in between. You're going to have these. And if you do not know this, you can tap a wire off of landscape lights that are portable. Those are good. This can be used for charging up batteries, your battery banks, your battery pods, your battery, all of your 18650 batteries that run off of whatever. You get your inverters and stuff like that in advance. So there are a lot of things that can help you. What else? These are all just basic survival things. If you guys know this already, there's really nothing I can add to this, but I'm telling you in advance that this is what you really need to be thinking about if you cannot go anywhere as a person who is disabled. Needs to bug in, you need to have 3 feet of space. Okay, 3 feet of space. You're going to have solar lights on the outside. These are landscape lights, just regular old landscape lights. You can use and you can piggyback on them to charge your batteries. You're going to use red lights at night, white LEDs during the day. Your spots, especially, guys know this, is that people are out gunning for people. If there are people out walking around just looking for, bananas, walking around with a white flag, like this, they're going to be shot. They're going to be murdered. They're going to be eaten, because it just doesn't matter anymore. The law is no longer, we're in a hypothetical situation here, guys, so don't take this seriously. But do me a favor and take the one thing you can do seriously, and that's hit the like button if you like this, because this right here are some gems that I got from disaster preparedness, working at Herbert Field. Okay, you may not know this. You may not know these things. But this is some of the basic stuff that everybody should know. Your kids should know. You need to learn how to do this stuff. You need to learn how to treat water. You need to learn how to charge batteries for lights. You need to know what type of lights you need in a security sensitive situation. You need to know, if you can't have weapons or arms, how to make your own. You're going to need to know how to fortify your doors and windows. Breaking glass is going to terrify your kids. It's going to scare them. You're going to be under the house, give your position away. So there's a ton of shit that you can do to prevent your house from getting robbed. Another thing too, and this has never been brought up, is that there is nothing wrong with defending your home. But if you can defend it from a distance, as in, like, you've got a Ring camera. Ring camera, bing bong, you're under the fucking house anyway. The Ring camera is connected to your phone. You see that somebody outside dressed like a cop. You don't know the fucking cops. You know the cops aren't there. They're trying to rob you. There is a way to use mace. Mace from a distance. There is a way to use a taser from a distance. There is a way to set up a low voltage system that causes a mild shock to doorknobs or other metal objects when you approach. And it could be anything. It could be a chain link fence. You guys heard electric fences before. It's the same principle. Only difference is it's anything that's related to your house and you have power still. Because a lot of things like that, I'm telling you guys, once you lose lights and you lose communication, people are going to freak the fuck out. And they said that within, I think, 90 days, 80% of the population dies, which makes perfect sense. So you've got your landscape lighting that have solar panels built into them. These are your camouflage solar panels. If you have the ability to put up a solar panel but conceal it behind something, but still have a full day's sun, use it to your advantage. Because you're going completely invisible here. No one is visible at this time. Everybody's completely invisible. And I wanted to also tell you that if in the event you have some space under your house that has an opening in the slab, why, I don't know. Some people have built on just the footers, and all that is just the cement that goes around the edge. And in the base of it, in the bottom of it, is all open sand. So instead of having a solid foundation, they have footers. And they put a trailer up on blocks or something like that. Something like this. You know, something that basically just, you've got this much space underneath. This is typically made out of cement blocks. And it's just put, you've got feet on it, and then that sits, the chassis of whatever trailer it is goes on there. And that's how you have the space. It's like it's almost as big as a regular house. If you were to eliminate all the walls in your house and then cut your roof down about half, that's how much space you have underneath your house, which works out to about 3 to 4 feet. And then they build this thing around it that's called skirt, so that you don't see all the utilities and you don't see the chassis and the, you know, all the bullshit underneath, all the stuff. So this is going to be the space, the usable space. That's going to be where you hide and you plan your offense, because no wars are won on the defense. We already know that. We've already discussed that. So now we're at the position now where we don't have rules. All bets are off. Geneva Convention's out the window. Now I'm stuck under my house, but I have no weapons. Nothing. I have nothing. I don't have any guns. I don't have baseball bats. I don't have anything. So what am I going to do in that situation? Well, there's always hand-to-hand combat. There's always, let's say, makeshift weapons, air compressors. You know, you could use your brain there. PVC pipe works good for making things, for defending against animals. You know, makeshift weapons, guys, makeshift weapons. But like I said, worst case scenario, invasion of whomever country gets in the country, you got to fortify. But you're already 50 moves ahead because you already got a water bed underneath. We said it was a water bed. Well, it's a water bladder. It's a new invention. We came up with them in the 40s, I think. You got a trap door closest to where you sit the most. In front of your home, you have landscape lighting, but you also have fortified planters. Using clean sand, metal plating, plants for camouflage, and motion detectors for lights, landscape lights. Your landscape lights are probably going to be your biggest best saver, because when I was in Puebla, for example, we had people that were poisoning dogs, and I wanted to catch them and beat them within an inch of their life. Problem is I could never see them. So instead of going around hunting, you know, weirdos walking around my property at night, I just set up lights, traps, basically. And what I did was in front of the house, which, by the way, this is before we had a chain link fence. This is before we fenced in the whole main house. This is before we fenced in any of the corn or apple trees or none of that shit. Basically, we had an open territory. So we have all this space here, and the house is smack dab in the middle of it like that. The entrance to the back of my house basically was all open until I closed this off with a chain link fence, therefore causing anybody, forcing anybody who's going to try and get to my house here has to go through my little maze of bullshit in order to do that. So if somebody's going to come in here, first thing that's going to happen is going to have a door that swings outward, not inward. So now we can kick it in. So that door is going to swing on the outward like this, not inward. It's going to swing out. It's your fucking fence. You do whatever you want. You're going to have the left hanger like that. So you have a fence that opens outward, not inward, so no one's going to be able to kick it in. It's also going to be over 6 feet tall. Over 6 feet tall, you're going to create dominance. You're going to have in the corner here, not necessarily, but definitely without no ability to reach. But you're going to have a camera that goes 180 degrees. That's going to control the spectrum of the backyard. But more specifically, this is a dummy camera. You're going to put a dummy camera that looks like a real camera in the face of the person walking through that gate. But you're also going to create one on the opposite end of the property. In the event this person thinks they're slick and thinks that they can go and walk through the property here where there's a camera, well, guess what, jackass? I've got a camera on the corner of this house that points to my Alpha Bravo corner. My Alpha Bravo. This is Alpha right here. This is Bravo. This is Charlie. This is Delta. Alpha will be the entrance to the house. That. So I created this maze for people to go through in order to get to my front door. Very common in Mexico because this gives opportunity for people to fucking figure out what the hell's going on. Here is the side of the house, the side of the walkway, and another little walkway in here. So what I've done now is I've created a labyrinth. The entrance to the home is here. Now I have forced gate entry into here. I force a person, again, this is the outward swinging door, outward swinging fence. No one is able to kick it inward when it swings out. Another thing is that one of the ways that people break into places is they just hit the really heavy duty. Now, I'm not sure about the States, but here in Mexico, big steel doors have big steel hinges that look a little bit like this. They have a little thing that snaps together and they weld that to your plate, and that's your hinge. All they got to do is hit that with a sledgehammer. That's right. All they got to do is hit that a couple times with a sledgehammer, and depending upon how shitty your welds are, that right there is how they're going to break down your door. So there's a couple ways around that. Putting plating around your hinges is one way. Putting, I think, triangles around certain things so that if they hit a certain way, it's going to deflect. There's no way to put any kind of real force behind what you're hitting. So now we're going to play a little game here, because now I have the ability, because I've changed everything. Now the game has changed. It's not straightforward. Nothing in this area is 90 degrees. It's nothing is 90 degrees. It's off by just a little bit. Why? Because a straight shot, someone's going to take a shot straight down here. They're going to hit somebody right here. However, when you create the illusion of walls, and you do that by doing partitions. I learned this by designing some kind of a, bathhouse or something like that, where they didn't want doors on the bathrooms. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing ever. So instead of putting doors on the bathroom, we came up with this like caracol design. A caracol is a snail. And a snail, as you probably know, goes like this and so on. So in order to create some doors that don't require doors, doorways that don't require doors, is to create the caracol figure. I say that we should design every school in the world like a snail. Not only is it a golden number, but here you have levels of defense, levels of fortification, levels of blindness, levels of obscurity. So you are able to walk through walls. You are able to go through places where people out here cannot see in here. They see this, but they don't see any of these little spaces where you can pass between. And it doesn't matter from what direction people are firing bullets in. If it's a caracol or a snail, it doesn't matter. You've always got something that's going to stop the force of bullets in between. Like I said caracol. It doesn't even matter if the stuff's made out of cement. It could be made out of mylar. Could be made out of Kevlar and spandex. Seriously, if you have something that can withstand the force of a bullet, depending upon the caliber, that gives enough to put brakes on the damn thing. Sand is ideal. This right here is probably the most powerful. Other people have tried things like the dragon scales or something like that. I think there's some value to it. Some people have also said that using porcelain tiles is another really effective method of dispersing, the pressure from a bullet or something like that. Because once something hits this thing, the energy is just like in water. It spreads out like this. It goes out, and goes out, and goes out, and goes out. And we don't know because we can't measure it. We can measure it in water, but we can't necessarily measure it. Well, we could measure it. Like if you had a flat wall that was completely made out of porcelain, and a bullet was to stop at that moment, and then all the energy that would hit that porcelain would go to the outsides like this, like a wave of water would do in a lake. So instead of it passing through into the object that it was being shot at, instead, just like we said with plate glass versus safety glass, once it's hit, the amount of force that goes into it, if you could just imagine a water balloon, expanding as the pressure goes out, as the water goes in. And as the water goes out, the pressure goes out of the one spot. Now reverse that. Your bullet comes in, it now expands the pressure of the area in which it is. In this case, it's going to be porcelain tiles. Just porcelain, plain old porcelain bathroom tiles. Porcelain, as opposed to other things, has a different type of physics. It's the same physics, but it's a different pattern that happens when a bullet or something hits. A projectile hits porcelain, similar, like I said, with plate glass. Plate glass can be protected with polyethylene layers and things like that. So all you're doing is just like protecting from the cold. If you were trying to protect against stray bullets, you're going to have barriers in between barriers on top of barriers that basically put the brakes on anything that might be coming towards you. So in this case, use the cheapest stuff that you can get, which is just basic sand. I think practically everybody has access to sand somewhere. Shit hits the fan, don't matter. Go to your neighbor's house. You know what I'm saying? Don't matter if there's a war going on. Besides, it's all for himself anyway. All of your doors are not able to be kicked in because they are facing out. You're going to reinforce all of your metal objects that are touchable from the outside of the house with some form of low voltage electrical shock system, just like they use in farms to keep animals out. I don't recommend alarm systems, so to speak, for the purpose of really calling for attention. Because at this point, there are no cops. So what is the point of having an alarm system when you are the person who is your own police at that point? Because there are people coming to steal your resources. You bet your ass that a fucking alarm that's just going to annoy them is not going to scare them off. And they're going to steal your car in the process. So you can just kiss that one goodbye. So now we realize that porcelain, in conjunction with plating, sand, we haven't even gotten into Kevlar materials yet, but I will tell you this, that the inside of the bus in here is going to have Kevlar bags. Kevlar bags, basically, it's just a double over piece of Kevlar with another material that's called Nomex. Nomex is an anti-flame material, and all you're going to do, and it comes in sheets or rolls, is you're going to double it over. Kevlar works also fantastic for stopping bullets. Kevlar, you can put some of this material into your door panels and give you some resistance to bullets. So you're going to get some of this stuff, which is, by the way, an arm and a fucking leg. And you're going to find a way to reinforce whatever it is that the potentially might be there for a bullet coming through the front door. So, like I said, trapdoor situation, you're under your house. You need to have water, electricity, communications, food To protect against rats, use stuff that's canned. Always put anything that is grain or stuff like that that rats can get to and smell, put them into plastic tubs that have tops on them. And furthermore, if there's any questions about survivalist stuff, remember that this is part of the podcast. This really is part of the podcast because these are things that we were all trained in the military, and everybody should know this stuff. If you don't know because you weren't in the military, it's okay. There are a lot of veterans that are painfully overqualified at doing this stuff. I am specifically telling people who are disabled, who can't get out and do stuff, that if you live in a trailer that has the skirt, it doesn't matter if you're a single wide or a double wide, you can survive some kind of shit hit the fan situation for 3 months, up to 3 months. After that, it's time to fucking move because people figure out where you are real fast. I hope you've enjoyed this disaster preparedness scenario situation. I do appreciate you guys telling me I'm looking good because I lost 30 pounds. Thank you very much. I got class in 45 minutes or so. If you want to come, you know where it's at. I'll see you later. I'm the professor, and I'm out. Thank you so much.